This story is about how a group of friends rented a house through Airbnb and did not even expect that the low price of the house would hide one drawback: the paranormal activities that take place in it. A winding road unfurls through the heart of a picturesque American countryside, culminating at the porch of a charming two-story house. The quaint home, bathed in the soft glow of a setting sun, has a welcoming sign hanging on its door. Birds are silhouetted against the fading light, and there's a stillness that suggests tranquility. A car comes into view, its engine humming softly. It pulls up to the driveway, and soon the dust settles to reveal four friends. Their camaraderie is evident from their intertwined arms and shared laughter, even without the spoken word. Laden with backpacks and suitcases, they approach the house with a spring in their step, exchanging glances filled with anticipation. As the hefty wooden front door creaks open, the house appears to take a deep, audible breath, as if waking from a long slumber. An almost tangible coolness seems to flow from the inner recesses of the house, creeping into the hallway, touching the very souls of the visitors. The friends pause for a moment, an unspoken understanding passing among them. The narrow hallway, lined with faded floral wallpaper, extends into the depth of the house, and the dim light reveals worn wooden floors, their boards whispering tales of bygone years. Gazing around, they find themselves in a spacious living room adorned with time-worn furniture. Dark mahogany tables and chairs, embroidered cushions, and a large chandelier with a few missing crystals dominate the space. A few portraits hang on the walls, their subjects' stern faces watching silently. Cobwebs hang discreetly in some corners, suggesting that the house hasn't entertained guests for some time. Outside, the yard seems to be stuck in time. Overgrown shrubs, a rusted swing set, and a stone pathway, now hidden under a blanket of fallen leaves, paint a picture of years of neglect. An old birdbath, devoid of water, stands as a lonely sentinel in the midst of the untamed greenery. The property's description, they recall, mentioned it being a bargain at just $50 a night, given its spaciousness. The low price was attributed to its character and history, but in hindsight, these terms seem to be euphemisms for the unsettling atmosphere that now enveloped them. While the group scatters to explore, one friend, Claire, a photography enthusiast, carefully places a vintage camera on an ornate side table. As the flash intermittently lights up the room, it captures their initial excitement, smiles, open suitcases, and the cheerful chaos of settling in. But among those pictures, some also capture Claire's pensive face. She had mentioned earlier, albeit hesitantly, about the house's energy, expressing her unease. Her friends had laughed it off, attributing her feelings to an overactive imagination. But now, as the weight of the house's history settled around them, her words seemed to carry a foreboding truth. Night descends, and the four gather in the living room. They light a fireplace, and its dancing flames cast both warmth and eerie shadows across the room. The house, once filled with laughter, slowly succumbs to a series of peculiar events. A sudden gust of wind blows out the fireplace. The friends jump, startled. They reignite it, trying to laugh off their initial shock. But then, from the corner of the room, a rocking chair begins to sway on its own. Its creaks, rhythmic and persistent, add a dissonant soundtrack to their evening. Upstairs, a door slams shut. A friend's Polaroid camera spontaneously clicks, ejecting a photo. When the image develops, it reveals a shadowy figure standing behind one of them, its features blurred but its presence undeniable. The atmosphere becomes dense. The wind howls outside, the windows rattle, and the lights flicker. On a wall, framed family portraits seem to shift, their subjects' eyes following the friends. Then, in a heart-stopping moment, all goes quiet. The friends huddle together, feeling the weight of invisible eyes upon them. Just when the tension seems unbearable, a soft lullaby wafts through the air, its origin unclear. It's both calming and chilling. Dawn breaks, and the paranormal activity wanes. The once vibrant group, now pale and shaken, hurriedly pack their belongings. They leave the house as swiftly as they arrived, the car speeding away with a trail of dust behind it. The house, once again bathed in the morning sun, seems as innocuous as any other dwelling. But as the camera pans to a window, the reflection shows the shadowy figure, waving goodbye. The tale, recounted by one of the eyewitnesses through the lens of the vintage camera, serves as a chilling reminder of the unseen residents of the countryside abode. Three friends who went for a walk in the woods met something that changed their lives forever. Until that day, they had not believed in the existence of anything beyond, but the next night made them believe. On a chilly autumn evening, three friends, Liam, Maya, and Alex, embarked on a hike through the dense Whitmore Woods, a forested region notorious for its labyrinthine trails. However, as daylight began to fade, it became clear that they had strayed far from the marked paths. The trio trudged on, hoping to find a clearing or campsite. Just as desperation began to set in, they stumbled upon an old house, nestled deep within the trees. It looked like it had been abandoned for decades, windows boarded up, roof partially caved in, and nature trying to reclaim its foundations. Despite its derelict state, it offered shelter from the creeping cold and the impending darkness. Inside, the house was eerily preserved. Dusty furniture sat untouched, and old black and white family photos adorned the walls, their subjects' faces faded with time. The air was thick with a musty scent, and every footstep echoed through the house. They decided to camp in the living room, setting up their sleeping bags and lighting a few candles they had brought along. As the clock's hands neared midnight, the old house seemed to come alive with a symphony of its own. The gentle whispers of the wind outside were accompanied by the house's creaking timbers and rustling curtains. But beneath these familiar nocturnal sounds, a distinct and unsettling rhythm emerged. It began as a faint, almost imperceptible, tapping, reminiscent of a metronome or a muffled drum. As minutes ticked by, the sound evolved into a soft thudding, eerily mirroring the cadence of a human heart echoing from the depths below. The three friends exchanged wary glances, the initial comfort of their camaraderie now tainted with unease. Alex's fingers nervously tapped against his water bottle, mirroring the rhythm from below. Liam, eyes wide, tried to dismiss it as just another quirk of the old house, but the pattern was too consistent, too deliberate. Maya, her adventurous spirit unperturbed, felt a mix of curiosity and challenge. She'd always been the one to chase after the unknown, and this was no different. Locking eyes with Liam and Alex, she silently conveyed her intent to explore the source of the sound. Lighting a candle she had packed, its small flame casting dancing shadows on the peeling wallpaper, she approached the basement door. Its wood was cold to the touch, and as she slowly turned the knob, the thudding grew louder, more insistent. Liam wanted to voice his objections, his instinct screaming that they should leave this place and its mysteries behind. Alex, on the other hand, tried to put on a brave face, giving Maya an encouraging nod even as his stomach churned with anxiety. As Maya began her descent, each step echoing in the narrow stairwell, Liam and Alex strained their eyes to keep her in view. But the deeper she went, the more the dim glow of her candle receded, swallowed by the thick, oppressive darkness of the basement. Minutes felt like hours, and Maya's prolonged absence began to worry them. Alex decided to go after her, leaving Liam alone, anxiously waiting. But soon, even Alex's footsteps faded, and an oppressive silence filled the house. Liam, now truly alarmed, began searching the main floor for any clues. He stumbled upon a room that seemed to be an old study. The walls were covered in fading red pentagrams and strange symbols that seemed to be drawn in some dark, dried liquid. But what truly chilled him to the bone were the sketches, detailed drawings of people, their eyes exuding fear. As Liam's torchlight wandered, he found more recent drawings, eerily resembling Maya and Alex. Their sketched eyes seemed to plead for help. Frantic, Liam mustered the courage to go down to the basement. The thudding grew louder, more insistent. There, in the dimness, he found Maya and Alex, lying unconscious on the floor, their faces pale. Above them, 2 fresh drawings adorned the wall, their likenesses captured in chilling detail. With adrenaline pumping, Liam managed to rouse his friends, and the trio made a desperate dash out of the house. As they ran through the woods, the thudding sound followed them, growing fainter as they distanced themselves from the accursed house. By dawn, they reached the outskirts of the forest. The haunting events of the night left them traumatized, and they vowed never to venture into Whitmore Woods again. But the most chilling part was yet to come. A week later, Liam received an old, tattered envelope with no return address. Inside was a detailed sketch, his face, eyes wide with fear, now a part of the house's eerie gallery. This story is based on a true story. The State of Alabama, 1997. Chapter 1. The Abandoned Church. Gateway to the Unknown. Detective John Smith had seen it all. He had worked on countless murder cases. But something about the abandoned church on Oak Street made his skin crawl. The church was located in an ordinary neighborhood, but all the locals avoided it like the plague. According to the rumors, stopwatch equals no, people were disappearing there. And strange mystical things were happening. John knew he had to investigate. As he approached the church, he noticed the eerie silence. The building was old and run down, with broken windows and overgrown weeds. John pushed open the door and stepped inside. It was dark, and the air was thick with the smell of decay. He pulled out his flashlight and started to explore. Chapter 2. The Crimson Symbols. Unveiling the Mysteries. As John made his way through the church, his flashlight beam illuminating the way, he noticed something strange on the walls. At first, he thought it might be graffiti, or some other form of vandalism. But as he approached it, he realized that they were symbols. Strange, otherworldly symbols, etched into the walls with what looked like dried blood. The symbols were a deep crimson, and the smell of the blood was pungent and metallic. John took out his phone and started taking pictures of the symbols. He had never seen anything like them before. They were intricate and seemed to glow in the dim light of his flashlight. As John continued to explore, he heard a noise. It sounded like footsteps coming from the basement. John hesitated for a moment, unsure if he should continue. But his curiosity got the better of him. He carefully made his way down the stairs, his gun drawn and ready for anything. Chapter 3. Vanishing Shadows. The Curse of the Church. As he reached the bottom of the stairs, he saw something that made his blood run cold. In the basement, John found a young girl tied up and gagged. She had been missing for weeks. John quickly untied her and called for backup. As he waited for the police to arrive, he noticed more strange symbols on the walls. He realized that this wasn't just a case of a missing girl. There was something much darker at play. Chapter 4. The Ritual. Unleashing the Darkness. John's investigation led him to a group of people who were using the abandoned church for their twisted rituals. The group was led by a man named Mark, who had convinced his followers that they could summon a demon that would grant them wealth and power. John quickly realized that this group was not just a simple cult. They were dangerous and willing to do whatever it takes to achieve their goals. The group's rituals were dark and disturbing. They would gather in the basement of the church and chant in a language that John couldn't understand. They would light candles and draw strange symbols on the floor with what looked like more blood. John could smell the blood even before he entered the room. As the group chanted, John saw something begin to take shape in the center of the room. At first, it was just a faint outline, but as the chanting grew louder, the outline became clearer. It was a monster, unlike anything John had ever seen before. It was covered in scales, with long, razor-sharp claws, and glowing red eyes that seemed to pierce his soul. The monster didn't seem to be fully formed yet, but John knew that it was only a matter of time before it would be unleashed upon the world. He had to act fast. Chapter 5. The Monster Within. Confronting Evil. The group of cultists was heavily armed, and John knew he was outnumbered. He called for backup and waited for them to arrive. When they did, a fierce gun battle broke out. But John managed to take down the cult leader, Mark, before he could complete the ritual. As Mark fell, the symbols on the walls began to glow even brighter, and the monster began to thrash around, as if it was trying to break free from the confines of the ritual. John knew that he had to act fast. He grabbed a nearby crowbar and smashed the symbols on the floor. As he did, the monster let out a blood-curdling scream and vanished into thin air. Chapter 6. The Final Stand. In the end, John was hailed as a hero. He had stopped the cult and saved the missing girl. But he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. He had seen things during the shootout that didn't make sense. He went back to the church and found a hidden room that contained a strange artifact. Since that day, John has never been seen again, and his gun was found under the rubble of the church.